Here's our Belmont. This is our level 1. A couple quick things to remember is you will find the circuits. Elena, you want to point them out? Because Elena's good at this. The circuits are right here. The extensions are down on the bottom shelf so that everybody sees them on the far right. Please make sure you grab one of each. There's that giant bucket is for places that dump huge volumes of blood. That's what this thing is down here. We don't do that here, but if you ever wanted to dump a whole volume of blood, you could. So you open the circuit and you're gonna look at it. Remember that it's color coded and there are arrows. That's what you need to put it in place. Your on and off button is right here. It's the first step. It'll cut on. It'll go through its power check, and it has the steps on here if you've never set this up. But the quick and the easy is once you open it, there's the steps. It'll walk you through the steps. Okay. You open it up and everything's color coded. I wouldn't necessarily attach a bag of fluid yet, but I have mine just because it's messy. So this is the filter or the reservoir. You put it in here. You'll see that this blue arrow is supposed to go where this blue spot is. So once you get it in there, if I can get it in there, there it goes. It clicks in. This is the first air filter right here. It's going to be the first air sensor. This is where you have most of your problems when you run it in a room. I'll show you how to reprime that at the end. You're going to set it up and you see the tubing meets its buddy down there by the line. Red arrow up top. Sorry, it's it's pliable now because we've used it. You'll click in here, you'll click in here. Just make sure everybody gets in their home before you try to shut the door. And this filter goes up here. This is your other O2 filter or your other oxygen filter or bubble filter. And I'll show you how to prime that if the circuit starts alarming that there's an air bubble in the system. So now once you have everything matched up, we're gonna make sure that the lines and the colors match, everything's in there, it's smooth, there's no kinks. We're gonna shut it. It does take some force. Next, you're gonna hang saline. Saline's the only thing that we use. You can hang blood and you can hang FFP. You can't use platelets or cryo, just like a regular blood tubing. So, hang it in. Please clamp these lines before you prime it, or you'll wear it. Make sure that this is unclamped. Make sure that this line is secured. Sometimes when it comes out of the box, this is the filter that is open. And when that's not open, for whatever reason, you can't ever get it to prime and it doesn't want to work and you end up having to go get a second circuit. So just make sure that's good and tight right there. This is open, this is open. Please don't have that attached to the patient. We're gonna open the saline. It'll fill, because of gravity, the reservoir. And then we're gonna hit prime. So you hit prime, and it'll prime 100 mils through the circuit. If you'll notice here, it is repriming this way because it sensed air down here, and until this chamber was filled, it pushed all the air bubbles back up into here. Now what we're gonna do is the manual prime. So don't attach this to the patient yet, and hit prime line. And it'll slowly prime the rest of your tubing and push all the air out. It takes about 2 minutes once you get used to it, but it'll take you a couple longer because if anything kinks in here, it'll alarm. So you just have to open and reset the circuit. So once it goes through and you know it's all the way pushed through, you hit stop, attach it to the patient, use a large bore IV or central line. Now we're ready to infuse. So you'll see the infuse button, click the infuse button. The first rate it sets at is 10 mils per minute, which is the upper left-hand side. It'll show you an actual rate. So this is what you ordered, this is what is delivered. It'll keep track of the volume that you've given. It says it's infusing. It does warm it, so you don't have to put it through a warmer. And this is the pressure line, like how much pressure you have through the IV that you're using. You can give a bolus of 200 mils, which is nice. If you hit the 500, this is kind of its base set for if you're going to do a massive transfusion, you hit that. It'll just start pushing the volume 500 mils through. But you look up here, you can increase the rate. 750's R max. The ED's max is 1,000. So now what happens when you run out of fluid or you get air in the bubble? Do we have questions about this so far? You can adjust these rates. You can do recirc, where if you think you need it just to recirculate on itself, we don't normally use that setting, but you could adjust the rate to be slower.
So I feel like it always runs well, like when you do this, when we do it like this and run it in the trash can. I feel like I've hooked it up to central lines or big bore IVs, and the thing literally will, you can set it at 500, but it's running at
it has a upper pressure limit.
So what is that?
I don't know. I think it's around 70, but I'll double check and let y'all know. I found out last night, so I didn't really have time to research.
So essentially, if it breaches the upper pressure limit, then it lowers the rate.
Yes. So that is like a safety precaution. So I always tell everybody, large bore IV or central line, but reassess your sites, especially if you're having an issue with it flowing.
Yeah.
What have you seen that, Chris? Like just a small
I mean, I
IV
feel like we
or-
did one with, I mean, it was with Dr. Jocelyn, and
You could do like a
not.
Yeah.
I mean, it was faster for us to do it on a pressure rag than to use the Belmont.
And so,
Can you adjust
There's
the
central
pressure?
one, yeah.
I don't know if you can. These are things I'll go back and look. I only found out yesterday I was doing this, so I'm a little, it's cool.
Gotcha.
So the things I can show you today are the 2 airlock issues you're going to run into every single time you run it. So you're running your trauma, doing your thing, and you did not realize that your volume bag is empty. So what you'll see is you're over here doing your stuff. This is what happens to all of us. You start to hear that weird noise. It's because it's starting to suck air. So then what happens is, because your bag's empty, right? And it's just pumping along, and it'll hit this point. Let me increase the rate so it goes faster. It'll scream here in a minute. It's like we have air. So hit mute, clamp the bag that's empty, open the saline. Remember, this is that point that reprimes. All you're gonna do is hit reprime, and it's gonna push the saline down through here and recirculate it up this tube and push the air out of this part of the line. This is the first big offender. This is why it always goes off when you're giving it. Just open this up and it'll fix it for you. And then you can go back and do whatever you need to do. The other big offender is, say you, and it's normally as you go through all of the bags, somehow air builds up in here and micro pushes through, and then all of a sudden the sensor down here freaks out. So this is how you fix it. If you've gone up here and you know this is fine, what we do is we go here. I always clamp this first and go like this and open it up, and this is where the air locks in here, and it's normally with large volumes it just builds up in the system. You need to disconnect from the patient. This cannot be connected to the patient. And you hit this open valve, and it'll open this valve up and allow passively whatever volume you have to take the air out of this part of the circuit.
But you've disconnected this too.
From the patient first. So you're holding it, it's purging it, it's purging it. And if you look, I'll hold it. It flows pretty fast. Let's see if it wants to do it. Did I unplug?
You're clamped up here.
Oh, that's what it is. Thank you. I apparently was going to screw this up. So that's all it does, is it lets you purge it out of the system down low. So once you have that,
alarm's not any different than the other. It's just
it'll be like, you'll hear a high pressure like the air alarm, and it'll let you know. So then you close it and you can go back to do whatever you want to do.
How'd you get to that screen?
Yeah, when you open it, it becomes open valve. And so you'll see it's locked and fixed in state so that it's not free flowing anything, but you have to manually open that valve. So those are the 2 big air alarms that you have with it.
So we really never have to remove the circuit. If we're getting
Once
air
it's
alarms, you don't ever have to pop it
You
out.
don't have to pop the circuit out. And normally if you're running into that problem, this is not sealed all the way, so this system isn't closed. Yeah, you just make sure that it's tight, because it normally comes out of the box loose. So just make sure that's tightened. And then that's the way that you can purge those lines. Most important thing is only use normal saline, pack cells, FFP. One is in OR1, the other one's in our storage room. We have a Belmont circuit and extension in OR1. We do not keep it in the storeroom. Grab one out of here when you go. The other big thing is the techs can set this up for you. They cannot attach it to the patient. They cannot hit start. They are not authorized to give anything, but they're very good at putting it together, and they will help you troubleshoot it. But that's all I have.
Thank you.